Let's talk about ways to save time when creating TpT resources. All right, this is a big question. And some of the things I'm going to say today, you're going to be like, yep, I've heard that before. Because I think a lot of times we hear people tell us the same thing over and over again. If you want to save time creating your resources, this is what you need to do. And we hear it, we process it, but we don't actually implement it on a regular basis when we're creating our resources. So as you're listening to this, if you find yourself thinking, well, I've heard that before, I want you to ask yourself, are you actually doing it? Have you actually tried it? All right, let's move in and let's start with number one. The very first thing that we want to do in order to save time creating resources is we want to start with a clear vision for our business. I cannot stress this enough. If you have a murky vision for where it is you want your TpT business to go, what you are going to do is you are going to find yourself working a little on this project over here, then dabbling in this project, then dabbling in that project, then dabbling in this one. Next thing you know, it's almost like having a million tabs open inside of your business. You have so many things going on at the same time that you are not able to focus or complete the tasks in a timely manner, okay? And so we want to really start with a clear vision for our business. And the way that we want to do this is when it comes to product creation is we want to say, okay, what resources do I want to create? And what is my timeline for getting those resources done? And in what order am I going to complete those resources? Okay. We also want to have a plan for what to do when inspiration, and I'm putting that inspiration in quotation marks, and some of you already know why they're in quotation marks. Sometimes we get inspired and that inspiration just carries us away from the things that we're supposed to be doing. And rather than it being this wonderful, fabulous thing, it's really just us procrastinating on the things that we should be doing. However, sometimes when we are in creative mode and we're creating resources, a fabulous idea really will come to mind. And so we need to have a plan for what to do when inspiration hits. So for me personally, I stop, I write the idea down. And if it's kind of a complex thing that I'm like, oh, I'm not going to remember what I was picturing right here, then I will actually draw it out. I'll get my my tablet and my pencil out, and I will draw out what I want the product to look like a rough skeleton. I'll make a couple of notes on it, and then I won't come back to it until I am finished with the work that has already been on my to-do list that I already have a timeline and a deadline for, okay? So we wanna work on one thing at a time, and we wanna have a really clear vision for what it is that we want to do inside of our business, and for what to do when all of those other fabulous ideas come in and we're tempted to get sidetracked from what it is that we're supposed to be doing. So we start with a really clear vision. We know what it is that we want to create. Once I know what it is that I want to create, I want to make sure I have templates for every single piece of the process. I'm going to create a template for the product itself. And by template, all I mean is the outline. This is so that I'm not having to go in and copy and paste terms of use from another resource into this resource every single time. This is so that I'm not having to go in and find the clip art artists every single time to credit them. This is so that I'm not having to type out the directions or copy and paste directions every time. I personally work in PowerPoint, but this works the same if you're working in Canva or anything else. You can save as a template, and you want the layout for your resource to already be there, so that all you have to do is change out problems, change out words, things like that, so that you can create your next resource very quickly. So we want to create a template for that. I also want to create a template for my covers and my previews. And this is pretty much before I start creating all of my resources. I might go ahead and create one resource and then create all of my templates, because what this is going to allow me to do by creating that one resource is it's going to allow me to make sure that everything is going to fit in and look the way that I want it to look. It's going to give me a better idea of what my cover is going to look like, what my preview is going to look like with the template. And I might end up changing some things along the way as I'm creating that first resource that would affect maybe my product description. So then I want to create my cover template, my preview template, and my product description template. This is a template that has everything that I want to be written out inside of my product description. And all I have to do is go in and change out key words. Okay. This way, the listing process becomes so much simpler. And it's going to allow me to focus on one thing at a time. And it's going to allow me to do something called batching, which is our next point. We want to make sure that we are batching our resources. We want to batch each step of the process. Now, batching looks different for everyone, but batching basically just means that you are completing the same task over and over and over again. So for example, when I'm batching, I sit down, I do about 5 resources at a time. You can do more than that, you can do less than that, but I found 5 is a nice even number. And I'll use the product template to create 5 resources. And then once I've created those 5 resources, I stop and I go and I create all 5 covers. And then I stop and then I go create all 5 previews. And then I stop and I go write all the product descriptions and get all 5 of them uploaded to TpT. And then I go back and I do the next 5 products. Okay. So this allows me to focus on one thing at a time. It also helps me personally to feel like I got more accomplished during the day, because I created 5 resources today, or I created 5 covers and previews, or I got 5 products uploaded. And it really kind of helps with that. But this is a little bit of a strategy on my end. I feel like when I'm uploading those 5 resources, it's much more worth it to me to go ahead and say something to my audience if I've put 5 things out there. Because if I'm just putting 1 or 2 products up at a time and I'm just uploading them as I go, then yes, they're getting more emails. My followers on TpT are getting more emails from TpT about my product. But when I first release that product line, or when I'm putting a set of products out there, if the resource that they see and they're only seeing 1 or 2 products and neither one of them are a product that they need at that moment, they're probably not going to go peruse through my store and go browse. But if I put up multiple products all at the same time, what I've found for me personally is that there's a greater chance that there's something that I'm uploading that a buyer is going to be interested in. And so they may not be teaching one of the 2 products that I put up, but they might be teaching one of the 5 products that I'm putting up, right? There's a greater chance there's going to be something that's relevant to them when I'm uploading that many at a time. And so it's more worth it to me to let them know, hey guys, go check out these new resources, or hey guys, take a look at these new products right here. I'm so excited to tell you about them. And because I have a greater chance that there's actually something in that upload that they need. All right. So that's one of the perks of batching. It not only allows me to focus on one thing at a time, which research shows allows us to be more productive and actually allows us to not only focus fully on the task at hand, but to do so in a way that is less overwhelming and produces a better end result. But this is also a great strategy for uploading products to TpT in order to get hopefully more traffic to TpT. And the next thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that we are using the time that we have wisely. So we've created the templates, we started batching, we're doing a good job of creating these resources. We've got our systems in place. Now we just need to have self-discipline. All right. So one of the best tools and resources that you have at your disposal is this handy dandy timer. This thing right here is one of the best productivity tools there is, bar none. And that is to give yourself a task, set a timer, and tell yourself that you are not stopping working until that timer goes off. You will work, and you will work efficiently until the timer goes off. And then once the timer goes off, you stop. Maybe you stop for good, just depending on what time of day it is or how much time you have. Maybe you stop, you go to the bathroom, you get a snack, you take a quick break, you check your phone, and then you restart the timer again. Whatever it is, you just want to make sure that you are abiding by the rules of the timer, because this thing only works if you actually stop when it goes off. Because if you don't stop when it goes off, then it trains your body and it trains your mind to think that, okay, yes, she says we're only going to work on it for 30 minutes, but every time we sit down for 30 minutes, we end up doing an hour and a half. And so your body will not believe you when you say, I'm only going to work for 30 minutes, and it will dread working because it knows that the chances are you are not going to actually just work for 30 minutes. So you want to actually abide by that. You set your timer. I like to do 45-minute increments because I feel like past that, I just kind of start to hit a little bit of a lull and I start to slow down. So 45 minutes, then get up, I'll clean the house for a few minutes, walk around for a little bit, do whatever I need to do, and then come back and sit down for maybe another 30 or 45 minutes, just depending on the day. And then lastly, one of the things that I would encourage you to do is actually, as much as possible, to narrow down the number of softwares that you are working with and use as few as possible. So when I was in college, I found out that the Dvorak keyboard, spelled Dvorak, that it was the most efficient, the most ergonomic keyboard that there was. And if you could learn how to type on that, then you were probably going to be a very fast typist, right? And I was already a decent typist on QWERTY, but I thought, no, I'm going to learn Dvorak. I actually converted my computer over so that it was on Dvorak, and I went to town. And the thing that I found, though, was that obviously in learning this new system, I was much slower typing on the Dvorak keyboard than I was typing on the QWERTY keyboard. And after a while, I'm writing papers, I'm exhausted from trying to remember where the letter U is. And so I'm like, forget it, I'm going back to QWERTY. But when I went back to QWERTY, I was slower than I ever was before. And that was because my brain was confused by the keyboard placement from working in two different keyboard systems. And I found that this is true as well when I'm working in different product creation softwares, where I'll get used to certain shortcuts that are in Canva or certain shortcuts that are in PowerPoint that don't translate over. And it actually slows me down when I'm creating in those different softwares. Now, sometimes it can't be avoided, right? But if you found yourself creating your covers in Canva, your products in PowerPoint, something else in Google Slides, and something else over here, and you can possibly consolidate it, do it. Even if you have to implement some workarounds, I would pick one that's going to be the best fit if possible and really narrow that down, because it's going to allow you to learn one software a whole lot faster and become more proficient at that software and become so intimately familiar with it that you're able to work your way around it a whole lot quicker. And this is especially true for new TpT sellers. And so if you're brand new to TpT or you're just learning a single software, definitely do your best to learn one at a time. And don't get that shiny object syndrome. Don't be like me looking at that Dvorak keyboard thinking that you really need that in your life, because sometimes you don't, okay? Sometimes a workaround in one software and knowing that one software really, really well and being able to be very fast and proficient in working in that area and in that space is better than having 5 different options at your disposal, because you can actually focus on being an expert in that one area. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to learn more and grow more with me, Rebranded Teacher Academy is open year-round at a low monthly cost, where you can get access to my entire course and content catalog, along with step-by-step monthly goals and strategies that are totally done for you so that you can move your TpT business forward every single month without having to wonder what it is that you should be focusing on. If you want to learn more about Rebranded Teacher Academy, you can find a link to that down in the description. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel. I put out content for TpT sellers every single week, and I would love to see you in the next video.